We still do 7 NUFC Matters shows for free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications option. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatters1892@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true.
And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all believe. And it feels alright where the worlds collide. Manipulation stands to make us red.
What's that you said? It's coming over you. You wish it upon a star. You wish it on a star. You are, you are, you are. You fight back, it's an all-out attack. It feels like I've been taken on the world's machine. Because I want it more than anyone can dream. You look back and it's all in the past. You tell me how you live by all the things you do. Well, you can be yourself, but maybe I'm not you.
And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all.
Hi, welcome along to NUFC Matters. It is Those Were the Days with George Mitchell, and George is with us, the one-eyed naval architect who's took us from the 1950s to current day, and we're getting very close to the end of the series. Of course, it'll be ongoing when we get to the end of this season. I'm sure we'll do another one, but George, what season are we looking at today?
22-23.
Over to you, George.
It's quite an important one in many ways. As I usually do, this is where we are in terms of other things, cinema, everything all at once, Fabians, Babylon, The Batman, and Nope were the big cinema attractions. And then music, Harry Styles as it was, Ed Sheeran, Bad Habits, Fireboy, DML, and Ed Sheeran, Peru, Cat Burns, Go, Ed Sheeran, Shivers. So it's music that most people would recognize today. So, right, I've put some pictures in at the beginning because there's things that we've never covered in the series. So you just run through them, Steve. That would be nice. That's the squad.
You'll have to bear with us because I wasn't sure what those photographs were for, George. So if you want to maybe look at them towards the
All
end,
right,
it might be better.
Okay, fine, right. So let's get the season started. The usual pile of friendlies, Gateshead.
I have done the scripts, Joe.
Yes, that's okay. Gateshead, Munich, Mainz 05. 2 behind closed doors friendlies with Burnley, for goodness sake. Benfica, Atlanta, and Atletico Bilbao were the the friendlies, and that's quite a range. First league match was, of course, just at home to Nottingham Forest, and that happens to be the strip I bought out of defiance more than anything, because there were a lot of people going on about it being Saudi Arabian green. Well, I was happy to wear the Saudi Arabian green just to show my delight at the takeover. So anyway, first game's Nottingham Forest at home, and we set the season off with Pope, Trippier, Target, Shaw, Byrne, Guravash, Willock, Joelinton, San Maximum, and Almiron and Wilson. And Forest come with Henderson, Williams, Worrell, Nakati, McKenna, Toffolo, O'Brien, Colback, Lingard, Johnson, and Surridge. And in terms of what people were expecting, well, they didn't. We weren't expected to tear up trees, but people thought we would have a decent season, and Forest were being touted as perhaps one of the surprise packages. But anyway, we got off to this reasonable start, a reasonable first half with some good football from both sides, but nobody threatening the goal. But in the second half, Newcastle picked things up a bit, and with the pacey stuff from Almiron and Willock down the wings and Wilson through the middle started to trouble Nottingham Forest, and it ended up with on 58 minutes from the edge of the box, where nobody was expecting a typical Shaw goal. He moved forward from the halfway line and about, or at least another 5 yards out of the penalty area, let fly. And Henderson didn't even move. It was in the back of the net. It was one of his blinders. I mean, Fabian Shaw is a defender that has 50 goals on his CV. So we've had the benefit of most of those. The game went virtually out all hours, and Wilson was tearing them apart with his pace. And it's no surprise on 78 when Wilson made it 2-0, and that's the way it stayed till the end. It was a comfortable win in the end. There was one or two bookings, Worrell and Williams and O'Brien from Forest, but I think out of frustration because they couldn't get anything out of the game at all. Simon Hooper was the referee, and Lee Mason was on VAR. So that's where they are.
And I got your photos loaded, George. There you go.
Super. Well, that's me trying to be fair and shown. That's the group that wanted to stop the Saudi takeover, the sports washing group, that organised the protest. And well, that's them. That's the protest. And most of them, I gather, are from Sunderland. As you can see, one of them's wearing a Sunderland jacket. But you know, got to give them a view, in my opinion. They were there, but and that one sticks in me crow. I mean, there's Amanda and Mairdad being hosts to somebody, Masters, the guy who many Geordies would like to see hanging from the Tyne Bridge by his thumbs, include me. I mean, he really did damage our football club. He in the Premier League, the way they behaved. And I've mentioned war flags a lot, but not shown any of the displays. And that's there's some particularly nice ones, and the big ones. There was a big one this weekend, and that was a huge one. And of course, there was the remembrance one, the poppy one, which is great. But war flags now, once we got rid of Ashley, they came back because he managed to huff even them. For me, add something special to the game. They wind the atmosphere up long before the players get on the pitch. And that I always have this mantra that going to the game should be an occasion. And I really do think that that's how it should should be. So anyway, let's get back to the football. We had an away game at Brighton, of all places, and we went with an unchanged team, and Brighton with their usual team with some old stagers in Dumph and Dunn in the back row, Lamptey, players that we know, and always a good footballing side. But this was not one of the best matches that we've had with Brighton. Quite dismal first half, 0-0 at half time, and it got no better in the second half. We could have had a goal from Wilson. In fact, he did put the ball in net, but it was called offside. In fact, he did it again later, and it was called off because his foot was high, and many of the pundits thought that was wrong. The outcome was that it fizzled out into a 0-0 draw. For us, the important thing was we didn't get beat, so we're starting the season quite well with a win and a draw, and see how we continue. The next game is at home to Manchester City. Always tough game, obviously, and unchanged team. We have left things alone, which is good, and Eddie's well in control now. Manchester City: Ederson, Walker, Stones, Ake, Cancelo, De Bruyne, Rodri, Gundogan, Silva, Haaland, and Foden. It's the full strength team that we know, and team that we're being tipped to win the title yet again. And this was, to put it mildly, an exciting game, a really exciting game. Gundogan sneaked through and got the first goal in 5 minutes, set things up. Almiron scored one of his blinders from the edge of the box, having had a long run down the right wing on 28 minutes. Then on 39, Callum Wilson, with a typical Callum Wilson goal. The ball bounced around and nobody reacted except for Callum, and his quick thinking got him a nice shot into the bottom corner under Ederson to make it 2-1, and that's how it stayed at half time. The second half, as you can imagine, Manchester City were really having a go, but left the door open for us, and we kept pegging away. And eventually, we got a free kick on the edge of the area, and of course, our dead ball specialist Kieran Trippier made the most of that, and on 54 minutes made it 3-1. So it looked like we were going to cruise to a surprising victory over Manchester City. But on 60 minutes, Haaland pulled one back, and then it was backs to the wall. They really went for us. And 64 minutes, Silva scored to the equaliser in what was a really exciting game, which ended at 3-3. We weren't, I mean, if that's most fans before the game, if 3-3 would do, I think they would have taken your hand off, is the truth. But it was an entertaining game of football, and nice to see that we were able to keep up with the team that was outstripping everybody by a country mile. Got a bit spicy in parts, but all handbag stuff. Cancelo and Stones for City were booked. We had Gurvash and Shaw, Trippier and Joelinton all booked. Jared Gillett, the Australian referee, was the referee, and Peter Banks on VAR. But an absolutely thrilling game with Manchester City, and one that was good to be at. The next game was the League Cup second round. Tranmere Rovers away, and we obviously huge changes in the team. Darlow, Kraft, Dummett, Lascelles, Target, Sean Longstaff, Anderson, Willock, Ritchie, Wood, and Murphy. Tranmere, Hewitt, Cogley, Byrne, Turnbull, Jameson, Bristow, Connor, Nolan, McAleer, Nevitt, and Hemmings. Interesting with Tranmere, quite a lot of those in that side are people who've spent their career on Merseyside or in Manchester and on their way out of into retirement almost, but making up a tidy side for Tranmere Rovers, and one that we shouldn't, if we ignored our peril, because this is a sort of banana skin we have a habit of slipping on in the League Cup. Anyway, it's a tidy game, and my memory is that there's a big old stand at the bottom of the ground at Tranmere Rovers, and the Magpies filled that to the brim. It was bursting. Interesting first half. Tranmere going for it and playing really hard stuff. And at 21 minutes, Nevitt, the dangerous centre forward, scored to make it 1-0, which got the Magpies teeth on edge, no doubt. And then just before half time, as he was able to do, up comes Jamel Lascelles from a corner to head us equal on 40 minutes. And but it's a typical ding dong cup tie with a lower league team really having a go at the big boys, it being Newcastle. The second half, we were in a bit more control, and the big handful for Tranmere was the link-up play between Chris Wood and young Elliot Anderson, and it eventually bore fruit on 52 minutes when Chris Wood was put through by Anderson, and he made it 2-1 without any problem at all. And that got us through to the next round of the League Cup. An entertaining cup tie, one which we could easily have slipped up on, but we didn't. Anthony Backhouse as the referee. First, he's from Cumbria, and it's the first time he'd taken a charge of a game, including Newcastle United. And of course, no VAR, because it wasn't allowed in the competition for lower league teams, which I think devalues the FA Cup, because the whole premise of the FA Cup that everybody gets the same treatment, whether you're playing a park side or you're playing on a big pitch. But never mind. We're through the next round. That's the important information. The next, we're away in the league to Wolverhampton Wanderers. Now, Wolves are a team that's there's some good football. They're not being tipped to win anything, but they're being tipped to be strong in the Premiership. And we go with back to our usual league side instead of the cup side. Pope, Trippier, Shah, Botman, Byrne, Almiron, Willock, Longstaff, Joe Linton, San Maximum, and Wood. And Wolves have got Josie Sarr, Semendo, Collins, Kilman, Johnny, Matthias Nunes, Neves, Motino, Gudes, Jimenez, and Neto. A good football inside, and end-to-end stuff in the first half. Wolves, if anything, shading it. And on 38 minutes, Neves scores a peach of a goal for them, sneaking in on the blind side and from the right side, with Power getting the ball in the left corner of the penalty area and giving Pope no chance at all. So 1-0 to Wolves at half time. Second half, we come out. Newcastle are having a go, but can't make a dent in the defence. The number of times we go forward, but just get knocked back. And time's running out, and everybody's looking to the clock and thinking, well, this is going to end at 1-0, but same. But then, lo and behold, right at the end of almost the end of the match, not quite the last kick, but very nearly, we get an attack, and the ball spins off up in the air and drops down just outside the penalty area to the feet of Alan San Maximum. And without hesitation, he unleashes a volley, an unstoppable volley that goes in the bottom left-hand corner. A superb goal, and to be in any match, but great that it happened to be us. And it was so late going in, of course, there was hardly time to kick off when the whistle went. So we got a good 1-1 draw out of that, and stabilised our position in the league. We're feeling quite comfortable with that. So we the Wolves with a 1-1 draws, good result. Next game is even tougher. It's an away game to Liverpool. We field an unchanged team, and Liverpool have their star-studded team: Alisson, Alexander-Arnold, Gomez, Van Dijk, Robertson, Henderson, Fabinho, Elliott, Salah, Firmino, and Diaz. And surprisingly, in some ways, we go into this game with having a go at them, and it pays dividends, because on 38 minutes, Alexander Isak outwits the Liverpool defence and makes it 1-0 to us, and it was well deserved. We were playing well enough to be in the lead and deserved the lead. Second half, of course, Liverpool came out firing all cylinders, and with Firmino and Salah particular giving us lots of hard work to do. 61 minutes, Firmino gets an equaliser, and then 90 minutes plus 8 minutes, 98 minutes, and everybody counting the time, Carvalho manages to get a sneaky poke in from a scramble to make it 2-1 to Liverpool. However, before that, there was a very controversial Alexander Isak goal, which everybody and a dog thought was a goal, but VAR chalked it off. And this has become the goal that was chalked off because of Alexander Isak's shadow. They had the temerity to say that his shadow made him look offside, and how on earth that was allowed to go through, I don't know. But anyway, we lost 2-1, but really did have a go in this match, and praise to the team for doing so, and to Eddie Howe for the way he set them up as well. Andrew Mariner, the referee, and Andy Madley on VAR, shadow man. We come home to a home game to Crystal Palace. Palace aside that if we're going to do anything, we should be beating, but we have to have a go, and they need to come back at us. We back to the same side, just one change target in at left back, and otherwise an unchanged team. Palace had Gita, Ward, Anderson, Gooey, Mitchell, Schlopp, Decor, Eze, AU, Zaha, and Mateta. Good football inside, and a one that's beatable, though, is the important thing, and the fact that they play football plays into our hands, because we tend to do better with teams that are trying to play football. It's not the best first half. It's 0-0, and it's no surprise, because I don't think Pope or the Palace goalkeeper had anything to do, really. All midfield stuff with little threat on the goal. So 0-0 half time. Second half, things perk up a little bit, and we push them very hard. The only incident of note in the goal mouth was that their fullback Mitchell, how can I say it, manhandled Almiron in the penalty area. Stonewall penalty, but VAR didn't give it. the controversy was that when the referee went to the touchline to view the screen, he wasn't shown all the angles, because there was one angle on VAR that was shown on TV that showed Mitchell's hands all over the back of Almiron, pushing him out of the way. Had the referee seen that, I don't think there'd have been any doubt of being a penalty, but we didn't get it, so it ended 0-0, and much to the fury of the home fans, it really was a very, very bad decision. So still a draw. We're sitting nicely in the league, and a home match to come with Bournemouth, and we an unchanged team against Bournemouth, and they have Neto, Smith, Mepham, Senisi, Zamora, Lewis, Cook, Lerma, Tavernier, Billing, Christie, and Solanke. Good football side. Not one that's been tipped to do anything special, but a one that's certainly capable of causing problems. A good fast start by Bournemouth, pushing us back straight away, and big threat from Solanke particularly, and Tavernier, who are pushing down both sides and through the middle. However, in truth, nobody really bothers either goalkeepers that much, so it's no surprise when we go in 0-0 at half time. Second half, it gets a bit more spicy, and there's one or two bookings to add to it, but Bournemouth eventually break the duck, and Billing, the attacking midfielder, gets a through ball from Solanke and slides the ball under Nick Pope, and it looks like we're going to struggle to get anything out of the game. But almost immediately, we come back and have a go at Bournemouth, and a bad tackle by Cook in the penalty area on Almiron gives us a penalty, and upsets Alexander Isak to make it 1-1. Just 67 minutes, just 5 minutes after that Bournemouth had scored. From then on, it was fairly end-to-end stuff, entertaining football game, but nobody looked like they were going to score. Booked for them, Christie and Tavernier. Booked for us, Joe Linton and Byrne. Craig Pawson was the referee, and Stuart Atwell was the VAR man. A decent game of football, even though it was a 1-1 draw. Our next game is away to Fulham at Craven Cottage. Craven Cottage that's by now got its new stand open, one of the most expensive stands in the country. The rooftop of the stand at Fulham has swimming pool and 5-star restaurants, and to try and encourage people to spend the whole day there. And I've not seen it, but the pictures make it look really, really magnificent. Anyway, we go with an unchanged side, which is no surprising because they've been playing well. And Fulham have Leno, Mabu, Abiaro, Ream, Kozutswa, Reed, Chabola, James, Piera, Reed, and Mitrovic. Alexander Mitrovic we know very well, of course. And it's a game we set off 100 miles an hour. We from the off, obviously down the side or down the wings, our pace is bothering them with Almiron and Willock particularly, giving them all sorts of trouble, and Wilson through the middle. So no surprise on 11 minutes when Wilson makes it 1-0. And then on 33 minutes, Almiron makes it 2-0. And then, almost unbelievably, on 43 minutes, just before half time, Sean Longstaff slides a side football into the bottom corner to make it 3-0. And 3-0 at half time, it stays. The second half, Fulham come more into the game, but we still holding our own without any problems on pushing, and particularly down the right side with Almiron. And then he and Trippier do some very, very clever interchange in play. And at the end, Trippier lobs the defence, and the ball goes over Almiron's shoulder. And without stopping in his pace, he doesn't even hesitate, and he volleys the ball into the Fulham net, into what was one of the goals of the season. It was clearly, in my opinion, the best goal Almiron scored for Newcastle United. In fact, many strikers far more superior than Miggy would have liked that goal, but it was superb. The football that created it was superb as well, and that was down largely to Trippier. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, Almiron made it 4, and then at the death, we got a bit slack, and Reid scored for Fulham to make it 4-1. So an absolutely great win away from home. Darren England was the referee, and Mike Dean was the VAR man. It's fair to say that Fulham did struggle because Chalboa was sent off before half time, so they did play the second half with 10 men most of the time. But they gave a good account of themselves. But we were well and truly in control anyway, and made our position in the league look very healthy indeed, very healthy. We then come home to a home game against Brentford. Not surprisingly, an unchanged side after a result like that. And Brentford come with Ria, Adjur, me, Pinnock, me who were bought from Burnley, Pinnock, Hinkie, Jensen, Baptiste, Da Silva, Henry, Mubembo, and Ivan Toney, of course, who we know very well. And this is another game when Newcastle show from the off that they're up for it, having to go at Brentford down both wings. And it's no surprise when after some beautiful play in midfield between Sean Longstaff and Shah, there's a through ball to Guravesh, and Bruno slots the ball into the back of the net on 21 minutes to make it 1-0 to Newcastle. We keep pressing, and it's inevitable that we'd get another. And from a short corner, Jacob Murphy on 28 minutes makes it 2-0. Stays like that till half time, but we're pressing hard. And in the second half, we begin where we left off in the first, having a real go at Brentford. And on 56 minutes, on 54 minutes, we make a hash in defence, and there's a trip by Dan Burn. Some argue whether it was a penalty or not, but anyway, the referee gave a penalty. We can't argue. And Ivan Toney stepped up to make it 2-1, and we wondered if this was the beginning of a Brentford fight back. But within 2 minutes, we were back up the other end, and Bruno got his second goal of the game, a nice drive from the edge of the area, and it was 3. And then on 82, Almiron again running through with pace, makes it 4. And then on 90, right on the final whistle almost, Callum Wilson gets through and shoots, and Pinnock, their defender, instead of just blocking the ball, turns his back and it hits the back of his shoulder and loops over the top of the goalkeeper to make it 5-1. So that's an incredible 5-1 result for Newcastle, and that's putting us knocking on top 3 in the league without any shadow of a doubt. An entertaining game for home fans. Well, 5-1 win would be. John Brooks of Leicester was the referee, and Paul Tierney was the VAR man. But we're sitting nicely in the league now, amongst the top 3, and is a great feeling, a good feeling. The next game is away to Manchester United. Now, what a reward to get for a good win. And we end up with an away game at Old Trafford. We have an unchanged team, and Manchester United have De Gea, Dalot, Varane, Martinez, Shaw, Casemiro, Fred, Anthony, Fernandes, Sancho, and Ronaldo. And as I say, we're unchanged in this period of the season. There's some good performances from Trippier, from Botman. The team's playing well. Bruno and Joe Linton all doing very well. So we go to Old Trafford, and characteristic end-to-end stuff when the game kicks off. But surprisingly, no one troubling either De Gea or Pope in goal. And we get to half-time 0-0. In second half, is a little better. Both goalkeepers have to make saves, but there's no real big threat on goals. And eventually the game peters out into a 0-0 draw, which, again, I think if anybody'd asked Newcastle fans about a game at Old Trafford, will you take 0-0? I think most of us would have said yes. But the important thing was we didn't lose, and we keeping our place in the league nice and tidy. Referee was Craig Pawson, who we've already had twice in the Premiership so far. Next game is at home to Everton, and unchanged teams, surprisingly, because we're playing really well. Everton have Pickford, Coleman, Michaelenko, Cody, Tarkowski, Iwobi, Genya, Onana, Gordon, Calvert-Lewin, and Gray. So it's a game we should be winning if we're going to do anything, and it's a bit dull in the first half. It's swamped in midfield basically, and there's not a lot happening. The only threat to us is Gordon down the left side, who's giving Trippier something of a game, and Calvert-Lewin through the middle, but Botman's handling the situation, and Trippier handling the Gordon situation. So much to the point, Anthony Gordon got quite shirty, and there ended up to be a bit of a scuffle in the corner at the Gallagher end, with all sorts of people getting involved with the scuffle, but it ended up with Shah and Gordon being booked. But the football was dire, all stuck in midfield. Almiron breaks the deadlock on 31 minutes with a nice goal to make it 1-0, where it stays at half time. In the second half, it's just them not wanting to lose and us having difficulty breaking them down. And so we end up with a 1-0 victory, with Tony Harrington as the referee and Andrea Mariner, the VAR man. It did get a bit spicy with Calvert-Lewin, Gordon, Gay, and Tarkowski for Everton booked, and Joe Linton and Shaw booked for Newcastle United. But keeps our position in the league nicely. We're up amongst top 3 and thereabouts at this time of the season's no bad thing. Next, we're away to Tottenham Hotspur. We field an unchanged side, which is no surprise because we've been playing really, really well. Tottenham have Loris, Sanchez, Dyer, Lenglet, Emerson Royal, Bentancur, Bissouma, Skip, Segerson, Kane and Son. A very tidy football side who are tipped by the pundits to be knocking on the door of the Premiership this year. So we go with some little trepidation, thinking that it might be harder than we thought. However, we go to Tottenham Hotspur to and give them a game, and it is a game, entertaining football from both sides. 31 minutes, Wilson breaks through the defence to make it 1-0. And in 40 minutes, again, that man Almiron breaks through with his pace to make it 2-0 just before half-time. A scoreline nobody would have predicted, I don't think, in the Newcastle side beforehand, because of the way Spurs were being tipped to be winning everything. Second half, it's a bit more even, and Spurs do have a go with Son and Kane having near misses, particularly from corners. Kane always a danger, but meeting his match with Dan Burn and Fabian Schär and Botman rather in the centre of defence. The game's end-to-end stuff, and on 54 minutes, it seemed inevitable that from a dead ball situation, Kane managed to get his head on the ball and direct it past Pope to make it 2-1. Newcastle get into a bit of the backs to the wall situation where Tottenham are pressing hard, but we keep them out, and that's great. Gets a bit spicy towards the end with Wilson and Pope booked for us, Pope for time wasting. Tottenham, Bentancur, Segerson, Skip and Emerson Royal all booked for them. More out of frustration, I think, than anything nasty. Jared Gillett, the Australian's the referee again, and he's become something of a lucky charm for us. But a good 2-1 away win, and we're now nicely fixed at third place. And not flattered by that. We're playing football good enough to be that good. So we come home to Aston Villa, and Villa are a team that's on the up and being predicted by pundits to be, a team to look for, and we welcome them, and always a decent football side with Villa. Martinez, Cash, Konsa, Mings, Young, De Donker, Douglas Luiz, Watkins, Bundiella, Bailey and Ings. Dangerous attacking setup. We are unchanged with the same side. Particularly significant for me was the defensive setup of Trippier, Schär, Botman and Burn particularly, making life very, very difficult for anybody who comes to St James's Park. Dan Burn receiving a little bit of criticism for his play on the left side at left back, but he sticks at it and doesn't give anything away. So we're playing Villa. It's entertaining stuff. One or two chances in the first half, but nobody actually threatening the onion bag. Then just before half time, in injury time, 6 minutes into injury time in the first half, there's a nasty challenge in the box on Willock, and up steps Wilson to make it 1-0 on 45 plus 6 minutes. That's how much injury time there was, extra time there was, to make it 1-0 to Newcastle. There's barely time to kick off when it's half time, so we go in at half time 1-0 in the lead, and good value for it. Second half, we step up a gear, and Wilson and Almiron, particularly with their pace, are running Villa ragged. So it's no surprise on 56 minutes when Wilson goes through the defence and makes it 2. And then on 5 minutes later, Joe Linton cuts in from the left and unleashes a thunderbolt to make it 3. Then on 67, Miggy goes down the right side and cuts in onto his left foot, and it's 4-0 to Newcastle United. And a good value for that 4-0. Villa, after that, were just happy to keep the score down. I think there was nothing they could do about that. We then have an away game at Southampton, and it's Southampton are struggling, and this if we want to win away games, this is one of the away games we should be winning. And we have an unchanged team, no surprises there with the way they've been playing. Southampton have Bazunu, Lorius, Bella Kotchap, Salsu, Perard, Ward-Prowse, Maitland-Niles, Walcott, Armstrong, Luc, and Adams. On paper, a good attacking side, but they're shipping lots of goals, and we need to take advantage of that. And that's exactly what we do. Entertaining first half with good football, but all the attack stuff's coming from Newcastle. And on 35 minutes, Miggy Almiron makes it 1-0 with a pitch of a drive from the edge of the area. And that's how it stays till half time. Second half, we really have a go at them. And on 58 minutes, Chris Wood's got a beautiful header from a corner to make it 2. Then Joe Willock down the left side cuts in, makes it 3 on 62 minutes. And then on 88 minutes, Perraud, the dangerous midfielder, breaks through and makes it 3-1. And then in the last kick of the game, 90 minutes plus 1, Bruno gets a pitch of a acrobatic back heel into the Southampton net to make it 4. Very, very skillful and acrobatic goal from Bruno, but it put the seal on a very, very good win for Newcastle United away from home. Stuart Atwell was the referee, with Mike Dean as the VAR man, and a good win, and we're now just not third in the league. We're now knocking on second place. It's only I think there's only goal difference keeping us out of second place. So we now come home to a home game against Crystal Palace in the next round of the League Cup round 3, and we'd be good to make progress in this trophy. We haven't done so for a while, but we've shown our intentions by the fact that there's been slight changes in the team, but not the wholesale changes there has been in other games in the League Cup. So it's Pope, Maniquino, Lascelles, Byrne, Target, Longstaff, Shelby, Joe Linton, Anderson, Wood, and San Maximum, and substitutes Carrius, Lewis, Shaw, and Murphy. So we're not going away from the squad altogether. Crystal Palace, Johnson, Ward, Tompkins, Geehee, Klein, Olassi, Milovic, Hughes, Mitchell, Mateta, and AU. And it's not the best of games. A fairly dull game in the first half. Nobody threatening the goal, and we have us couple of close shaves from AU for them, and Wood and San Maximum come close for us, but not close enough. So it's 0-0 half time, and the second half just dies away in midfield. So we end up with 0-0 final, and we go to penalties. And the penalties are dire. We're not very good, but thankfully Palace are even worse. So we win 3-2 on penalties and go through to the next round. Milovic and Hughes book for Palace, Anderson for us. Graham Scott's the referee. So we're through on penalties, which is a nice change for us because we have the Indian sign on us with penalties usually with it. We struggle with penalties. Next game is a home game against Chelsea. And important one because they're one of the teams that's pushing hard at the top to keep us back. We're unchanged with Chelsea bringing Mendy, Koulibaly, Chabola, Azpilicueta, Loftus-Cheek, Jorginho, Kovacic, Hall, Gallagher, Mount, and Broja. Very, very good football inside. Entertaining game, but nobody looks like they're going to score a goal. Lots of clever interplay in midfield, but nobody threatening either goalkeeper. And no surprise when we're going at 0-0 at half time. Second half warms up a bit. Newcastle have a go at Chelsea, and on 67 minutes, Joe Willock manages to pick up a through ball from Bruno and make it to 1-0 on 67 minutes, and that's how it stays. It gets a bit spicy with Koulibaly and Jorginho for Chelsea booked, and for us, Trippier, Pope, Lascelles, and Sean Longstaff booked. Robert Jones is the referee, and Andy Madley the VAR man. Yes, more frustration, I think, than nastiness in those bookings. So we have another home game. Oh, sorry, stop. No, we've got three, and I don't know why we had three friendlies. Middlesbrough, Al Hilal, and Rayo Vallecano from Spain. We play three friendlies, and win all, only to frustrate everybody in some ways. But the crowds were quite reasonable. I mean, the Rayo Vallecano was 35,000, which wasn't bad. The others were well, the Middlesbrough one was behind closed doors, so the manager must have had something in mind when he had these friendlies. But it seemed a strange place to have them. And we come straight back after those friendlies to our next foray in the League Cup against AFC Bournemouth at home, and it's an unchanged team, and Eddie Howe shows his intent by fielding his strongest team with Pope, Trippier, Shaw, Botman, Byrne, Guveresh, Longstaff, Willock, Almiron, Joe Linton, and Wilson. And likewise, Bournemouth have Travis Smith, Mepham, Sanisi, Samura, Christie, Cook, Billing, Anthony, Solanke, and Moore. So both sides showing their intentions that they want to progress in this trophy. And it's a tidy game. Bournemouth always playing attractive football, and we're giving them as good as we get. It's 0-0 at half time, but an entertaining 0-0. Second half, Newcastle press a little bit harder, and some very near misses for Wilson and Willock. And Sean Longstaff, particularly a long range drive that their goalkeeper has to push over the bar, but could have easily been in the top corner. And it looks like it might run out to 0-0, but on 67 minutes, of course, when you least expect it, a blinder of a shot from Joe Linton hits the heel of Smith, their fullback, and spins over the top of that goalkeeper to give Newcastle a 1-0 lead on 67 minutes. And despite the fact that Bournemouth really do have a go at us, that's how it stays to the end. So we progress to the next round of the League Cup. We then have an away game at Leicester City in the league, and it's an unchanged team for Newcastle. We've got and Leicester City have Ward, Castagne, Amati, Fierce, Thomas, Tillemans, Sumari, Prayet, Dewsbury Hall, Barnes, and Dakar. And got a reputation for playing good, fluent football, but should really not be bothering us if we're serious about this league. And we set off quite quickly, and we get a great start when Wood is about to head in from a corner when Castagne pushes him from the back and pushes him off the ball, strong enough to get a penalty. And Wood gets up and takes it, and we're 1-0 in the lead in 3 minutes. And just to add to the space, on 7 minutes, Almiron races through to the Leicester defence to make it 2 on 7 minutes. So it looks like this is going to be a bit of a cakewalk. Leicester pull themselves together and hold things to 2 for a while. But then on 32 minutes, cutting in from the left side, Joe Linton unleashes a right footer, which makes it 3 on 32 minutes. So it's looking like a cricket score if we keep going like this. Get to half time on 3-0. Second half, Leicester are far more resolute and far more determined, and there's no more goals and no more real attempts at goal. Although when Perez comes on for them and Vardy comes on for them, they do look a more dangerous side, but they don't dent our 3-0 lead, and so that's how it ends. Again, Jared Gillett, the Australian, is our lucky charm, our referee, and Peter Barnes, the VAR man. So we now home to a game against Leeds United, a tough game, and if we're going to keep ourselves in the top 2 like we are at the moment, we've got to give a good account of ourselves. We are unchanged. And just to remind you, Pope, Trippier, Shah, Botman, Byrne, Longstaff, Guveresh, Willock, Almiron, Wood, and Joe Linton. And Leeds United, Meisler, Ayling, Koch, Kubas, Struich, Adams, Forshaw, Gonto, Alonso, Harrison, and Rodrigo. Playing football 100 miles an hour, Leeds, and being very hitty missy. Some days just wiping people off the pitch, then the next time it being done to them because they weren't defending very well. Well, they come with that reputation, but in fact, they're as cagey as could be, and all the players kind of squashed into midfield. Both midfields having lots of the ball, but nobody scoring any goals. So 0-0 at half time. We keep going, but second half's no better. Nobody looked like they're scoring, but it does get a bit spicy with Ayling, Struich, Roca, Gonto, and Meisler booked for Leeds, and Trippier, Wilson, and Guveresh booked for us. Simon Hooper as our referee, Mike Salisbury, our VAR man. After that, we got a real tough game, a visit to London with Arsenal, and we got to be on a medal for this. Arsenal tipped as one of the teams to be winning things, unchanged team for us. Arsenal have Ramsdale, White, Satha, Gabriel, Shevchenko, Odegaard, Partey, Xhaka, Saka, Nikita, and Martinelli. A tidy football side, and the one which is inevitably going to give us trouble. But the fact is, we've gone really prepared for this, thought about it, and slightly more defensive setup than usual. But Arsenal don't trouble us. There's no trouble getting the 0-0 at half time because they don't even trouble our goal at all. After half time, pace changes a little bit, but still no threat on goal, which is quite disappointing from a purist point of view. But from our point of view, a 0-0 at the Emirates is not a bad result. Lots of pushing and shoving and nastiness. Arsenal have Nikita, Odegaard, Xhaka, and Shevchenko booked. We have Bruno, Wilson, Joelinton, Almiron, and Lascelles all booked. Andy Madley's the referee and Stuart Atwell the VAR. A good point though against a team that's challenging to put us out of the top three. We then have the FA Cup game against Sheffield Wednesday. We field a very weakened side with Anderson and others in the off the bench coming in. Jacob Murphy and so on, and from the off we don't look comfortable. Sheffield Wednesday are really going at us, and with their mixture of age and youth in the side, giving us a hard time. And it's no surprise on 52 minutes the thorn in our side had been Windass, that old attacker who has a sniff for goal. And he sneaks in and beats the goalkeeper at the ball and makes it 1-0. We don't learn anything from it, unfortunately, because within 8 minutes he repeats the doors from a corner and beats our standing defence to make it 2. And it looks like we're going out with a whimper, but Eddie Howe by now has substituted from the bench Guravesh and Willock and Joelinton, and starting to give Sheffield something to think about. And on 70 minutes, managed to get a goal back through Bruno, a nice goal. But by then, Sheffield are just packing their defence to see out a 2-1 win, which is what they do. So our trip with the FA Cup was over at Sheffield. And a lot of questions after that game about the team selection, whether or not we went too far and putting out a too much of a weakened team. However, with next games, the other cup, the League Cup, we have the next round of the League Cup at home to Leicester City, who we've just beaten at Leicester. We've got our full side back: Pope, Trippier, Botman, Sharburn, Longstaff, Bruno, Willock, Almiron, Wilson, and Joelinton. And We have Leicester have almost, well, it is the same team that played us in the league, with one exception, is that Dakar is off, and Jose Perez, who we know very well, is on in place of Dakar, and just adds to the firepower up front. It's entertaining football, but mostly in midfield. Neither goalkeeper really troubled. Certainly nothing near the woodwork, even in terms of shots. So it's no surprise 0-0 at half time. The second half, Newcastle seemed to wake up a little bit, and Wilson and Almiron Willock, with their pace, starting to give Leicester problems. On 60 minutes, there's a good move down the left, and the ball's kind of shuffled out to the left wing. Who should appear but Big Dan Burn. Cuts into the penalty area, and from the edge of the penalty area, slots the ball in the far corner on 60 minutes to make it 1-0 to us, and proceeds to do a lap of honour for St James's Park for scoring his goal. But he, I think it pleased a lot of people, but not just him. We're controlling the game now without any bother at all, and it's no surprise in 72 minutes when Joe Linton manages to get a good header on a corner to make it 2-0. So that's through to the next round of the League Cup with a 2-0 victory. Darren England, the referee, and played before an absolutely full house. For the League Cup, that's good for us, because we have a habit of having crowds falling away for the League Cup, but perhaps people are believing we might actually do something. Next is a home game against Fulham in the Premiership, and as you can expect, an unchanged side. Fulham have Leno, Tete, Diop, Reem, Kuzara, Joe, Falina, Reed, Willian, Pereira, Gorda, Reed, and Mitrovic. Entertaining game. Fulham given as good as they get in the first half, but nobody threatening a goal, not Mitrovic or anybody else for that matter. And half time 0-0. We second half just takes up where the first left off. Fulham packing the midfield. They're determined not to lose this one, and it looks like it's going to fizzle out to a 0-0. But then on 86 minutes, a brilliant run by Isak to pick up a through ball from Bruno, and strides through to slot the ball underneath Leno to make it 1-0 Newcastle on 88 minutes, just to make it nearly impossible for Fulham to come back, and they didn't. So we go out 1-0 winners against Fulham in this league game, and keeps us in the top three, which is fantastic. Nothing special after that. Couple of bookings, but nothing nasty. The referee is Robert Jones, and we again 52,247. Now I think that's as near a full house as you can get. There could only be room for at least 2 or 3 more. That's very, very close to the absolutely top figure. So the next game is an away game to Crystal Palace. We've already beaten them, but we've still got to be on our mettle. They're a good footballing side, and unchanged team for us, which, not surprisingly, been playing very well indeed. Palace, Guta, Ward, Richards, Gui, Mitchell, Decor, Schlupp, AU, Ezi, Zaha, and Edward. Good football inside, some good football being played, but all in the middle of the pitch. Nothing in the penalty areas at all. Very few shots. surprise at 0-0 at half time. Second half starts and it's just more of the same. Two packed midfields bouncing off each other, but neither making a threat on the goal or the goal of their opponents. So we end up with a 0-0 draw, which is no bad thing in London, and more importantly for us is keeps us in the top two. Craig Parsons the referee. Gillett is the VAR man this time. So our next game is away to Southampton for the League Cup semi-final, and as usual, all the Geordie tickets taken. Full house at Southampton's, 31,000 just about, and despite it being a game pundits are predicted we'll win, we don't take it for granted. Unchanged team. Southampton have Banzamu, Walker Peters, Salazar, Lenka, Cheleta Carr, Alcazar, Diallo, Junipo, Wood-Prowse, Orzik, and Mara. And first half's entertaining with Ward-Prowse and Mara giving Dan Burn a particularly bad time down the left side, and people questioning whether he really should be playing at left back. But like everything else Dan Burn does, he doesn't give up, he keeps at it. We get to half time 0-0, and that's how it looks like it might peter out, but as the half goes on, we press a bit harder and harder. And then from a knock back from a corner, Joe Linton sticks his head where some people would be frightened to, and makes it 1-0 on 73 minutes. And Travelling Faithful are ecstatic, and so they should be. But despite Southampton doing all they could, they're never going to get an equaliser. It was us all the way. Stuart Atwell, the referee, and Andre Mariner, the VAR man. The next game is the return leg of the semi-final of the League Cup with Southampton. Southampton only one change with Southampton. Adam Armstrong comes into the forward line, but our team is unchanged. Adam Armstrong comes in for Orzik or Orzik, attacking intent by the Southampton manager is all you can say, and that's interesting. But it's 100 miles an hour from Newcastle at the beginning, really having a go for this one, and little surprise when we get a nice goal from a corner on 5 minutes. Ball eventually filters out to Longstaff, who side foots the ball into the bottom corner. Then on 21 minutes, almost a repeat dose, but from the opposite side. Again, a ball arrives at Longstaff, who side foots it into the other corner of the goal to make it 2-0 to Newcastle. Then on 29 minutes, only 8 minutes later, Adams, almost a copycat goal for them from a corner from his side foot into the back of the net, and it's 2-1. We get there half time 2-1, and we're doing. It doesn't look like we're going to get pressed much harder in the second half, and so we look like we're going to get a steady victory. However, on just after 80 minutes, there's a bit of a melee in the middle of the pitch. Bruno has brought down Ward-Prowse, who goes down like he was poleaxed. And the referee books Bruno. But VAR steps in and tells the referee to go and have a look at it again. And after a review on the TV screen, Paul Churdy decides it's a red card, and off goes Bruno. It doesn't materially kill the game forward, but it does make the last few minutes bit backs to the wall more than we'd anticipated. So we then have a home game against West Ham in the Premiership, and we've got again an unchanged side, with West Ham bringing Fabianski, Kehrer, Ogbonna, Ogord, Kufal, Paqueta, Rice, Emerson, Bourne, Benrahma, and Antonio. A good football side, and one would have to watch even at home. The first half's characterised with some good chances, and as early as 3 minutes, Wilson gives us the lead, 1-0. And on 32 minutes, Paqueta, Bruno's Brazilian mate, makes it 1-1, and after that, it's end-to-end stuff till half-time. After half-time, almost a repeat dose, but nobody can get near the goal. All the football's happening in midfield, but we still go out 1-1 draw, leaving us firmly fixed in the top three. The next game is an away game at Bournemouth. We have unchanged team with Gordon as a substitute is a big change, and Anderson and Murphy on the bench as well, together with Lewis Miley and Ritchie. Bournemouth have Neto, Smith, Stevens, Senesi, Zamora, Ultrara, Lemar, Billing, Anthony, Traore, and Solanke. Again, a good football inside. The game's entertaining enough, if somewhat stuck in midfield. Bournemouth have the lion's share of possession, but that doesn't seem to be troubling us that much. Then, unfortunately, on 30 minutes, Senesi, the dangerous midfielder, goes through and slots the ball underneath Pope to make it 1-0 to Southampton. Then we put in end-to-end stuff, and right on half-time, 45 minutes plus 2 actually, Almiron gets the ball and breaks through and outpaces the Bournemouth defence, slided under the goalkeeper to make it 1-1. So we go in at 1-1 with playing well enough for the 1-1, and people hoping that we might pick up the pace the second half. We don't, and it ends 1-1. But despite it being the draw 1-1, it was a good game of football, and the referee was Stuart Atwell and Tony Harrington, the VAR man. So, but an entertaining 1-1. There's no question about that. Then we at home to Liverpool. Liverpool, Manchester City running away with the league at the moment, but we're hanging on to their coattails in third place just now. Unchanged side for us, and Liverpool have Alisson, Robertson, Van Dijk, Gomez, Alexander-Arnold, Balichik, Fabinho, Henderson, Gakpo, Nunes, and Salah. very dangerous attacking formation. And we set off 100 miles an hour, giving Liverpool as much as they give us. But on 10 minutes, we're slack, and Nunes dashes onto a through ball from Gakpo and makes it 1-0 for Liverpool. End-to-end stuff for a while. And then Salah could easily have scored himself, but he's very unselfishly sees Gakpo standing wide open and slots it to him. And on 17 minutes, Gakpo makes it 2-0, which takes the wind out of ourselves because we've been given as good as we got. And it's made even worse. That was 17 minutes. And then absolute disaster, of course, comes on 22 minutes when Pope comes out to Salah and tackles him outside the area, brings him down, and the referee's got no option but to send him off to make it Newcastle with 10 men. Anthony Taylor's the referee, and he can't. If you look at football as it was definitely a goal scoring chance. He was on his own, and there was only Pope to beat, so Pope brought him down. So the inevitable had to happen. So in the second half, with the man short, we still put up quite a good fight. In the fact that we don't concede anymore, but disappointing to lose the man. But even more so because it means that Nick Pope can't play in the League Cup final against Manchester United, and and that's the next match at Wembley against Manchester United. Real high door on Tyne's side, people expecting us to do the very best. The team news is somewhat causes some concern because Pope can't play, Dubravka's injured, so Karius, our handsome Greek goalkeeper, has got to go in as in goal in the final, having hardly played a game for us during the season. However, this is a man that's got European Cup experience, so it shouldn't be that much of a problem to it. The game kicks off at Wembley. We're inclined to sit back a bit, in my opinion, and look a little bit lackluster. The real challenging players coming from Manchester United, with Marcus Rashford giving us all sorts of problems, and our team carries Trippier, Burnshaw, Botman, Longstaff, Bruno, Joelinton, Almiron, San Maximum, and Wilson. Manchester United, Decade, Dalot, Shaw, Martinez, Varane, Fred, Casemiro, Anthony, Bruno Fernandes, Rashford, and Weghorst. And it's frustrating for Newcastle fans because we just don't seem to be pushing Manchester United as hard as we should. And unfortunately, on 33 minutes, there's a free kick that comes over. We don't mark as well as we should, and Casemiro scores the first goal on 32 minutes. A lot of debate among Newcastle fans that Casemiro was actually offside when he scored, but both the referee and VAR didn't even look at it. It was a goal, so we're one down. We try and push back a little bit, don't really make any chances. Then on 39 minutes, Marcus Rashford, who's been giving us all sorts of hassle, makes it 2-0, and that's how it stays till half time. We hope that United will the real United will pick up and have a real go in the second half. But unfortunately, they don't. They sit back when everybody was hoping they would have a real go, and the game fizzles out to a 2-0 victory to Manchester United, which is a huge disappointment considering the number of times we'd been desperate for a cup run of any kind, and then we get one and basically don't turn up, is how people would describe it, I think. Referee is none other than a man called David Coote, who's currently very famous for something other than football, and Peter Banks is VAR. So 2-0 to Manchester United in the League Cup final, which was quite disappointing. And as a reward for that, we have an away league game at Manchester City, who are now running away with the league title. There's only them and Liverpool really in it. Arsenal are hanging about, but not in any great threat. So we go to Manchester City with an unchanged team. Manchester City have Ederson, Walker, Akanji, Diaz, Ake, Rodri, Gundogan, Foden, De Bruyne, Grealish, and Haaland. We don't even get out of the starting blocks, really. Manchester City got us pinned in our own half most of the first 20 minutes, so it's no surprise in 15 minutes when Phil Foden puts them in the lead. We bolster the defence a little bit and get the half-time at 1-0, and start the second half, we similarly have a go and bolster the defence. So they don't look like they're going to score. But then on just when we think we're going to leave it at 1-0, Silva sneaks through the defence, come on for De Bruyne, and makes it 2-0 to Manchester City, and flattens our day, really. Previously it was the red Manchester, today it's the blue Manchester. But we're still hanging up there in the top echelons, not being swept aside. So the next game is at home to Wolves. We've had a good game with Wolves in the alternative fixture earlier in the year. We've got an unchanged side. We've got Jose Sarr from Wolves, Semedo, Dawson, Kilmill, Johnny Neves, Lamina, Traore, Matujuho, Prudence, and Jimenez. Good footballing side, and going to give us as much trouble as we can handle, I suspect, and that's how it pans out. But we're given as good as we get, and so it's no surprise on midway through this first half, 26 minutes, Isak scores the opening goal, and we go in at half time with a 1-0 lead. We come out the second half, and Wolves clearly up for it. They see they're making much more of a fist of the second half than the first, and so it's no surprise on 70 minutes when their dangerous Asian winger Hai Wang scores an equaliser and pulls us back. But play goes on at a pace, and it's no surprise when Almiron speeds off down the right and cuts in onto his left and makes it 2-1 to Newcastle. A great cheer from the assembled crowd in my vicinity. Andy Madley was the referee, and Tony Harrington was the VAR man. We've got a decent squad at the moment, playing quite well. So it's nice that the reward is to get some points on the board. Now we go away to Forest, Nottingham Forest. It's Pope, Trippier, Botman, Sharburn, Longstaff, Bruno, Willock, Murphy, Isaac, and San Maximum, with Murphy coming in for injured Miggy. Nottingham Forest, Navas, Oria, Nikite, Philippi, Lodi, Yates, Shelby, John Joe Shelby, Johnson, Gibbs White, Dennis, and AU. A good entertaining game with Forest, and their first to open the score with Dennis sneaking in at the back post to tab in a corner. Then on just as the referee's about to blow for half time, Alexander Isak on 45+2 nips through with a nice solo goal, a good dribble, and makes it 1-1. Second half, we're doing all right and starting to press them and giving them all sorts of problems. And then, just as everybody thinks it's going to be 1-1 at the finish, a silly bit of play by Yates brings down Willock in the penalty area, and Isak stacks up and scores the penalty to win the match on 93 minutes. So 2-1 to Newcastle against Forest, and we're nicely stuck in the top 4 of the league again. We then have home game against Manchester United. Going to be a difficult game, but Manchester United not the threat they have in days gone by. So we field an unchanged side again. Sorry, no. San Maximum and is Murphy. Sorry, he's back off the bench instead of Almiron. With a good attacking side, Tigay, Shaw, Dallat, Varney, Lee Martinez, McTominay, Sabaletza, Anthony, Bruno Fernandes, Rashford, and Weghorst. And first half is entertaining enough, but stuck in midfield. Nobody going to score any goals the way they're playing at the moment. Second half is a bit more lively. Clear Manchester wants something out of the game and attack with some venom, and we respond in like kind. Is a game that Bruno's taken by the scruff of the neck, and on 65 minutes, a nice through ball from him to Wilson, and we're 1-0 up, and good value for it. We played another 10 minutes, and if there's going to be a goal, it's going to be another Newcastle one. And sure enough, on 88 minutes, a couple of minutes before the end, another piece of nice play by Willock and Bruno, and Wilson's through and makes it 2-0. So a good 2-0 win for us against Manchester United. And we then go to an away game at West Ham, and with an unchanged side, we can win this one if we put ourselves about, and it's a game which would keep us nicely in the top 3 and give us a European Cup chance. Unchanged side, West Ham have Fabianski, Kura, Zuma, Ogard, Emerson, Suchek, Rice, Paqueta, Bowen, Antonio, and Berima. And it's starts off really 100 miles an hour with Wilson scoring on 6 minutes, Joe Linton on 13, and it looks like we're coasting to 2-0 at half time, but from a corner, Zuma comes up and heads in a nice bottom corner goal to make it 2-1 at half time. But it's been absolutely entertaining because Newcastle are having a go, and they really making West Ham pay for any mistakes at all. After half time, things pick up just as they were left off. 46 minutes just after the half time whistle, Wilson sneaks through to make it 3 to Newcastle. Then on 62 minutes, a bizarre goal. The goalkeeper comes out to challenge way out, and unfortunately, Isaac gets to the ball before him. He just coolly lobs the ball into the back of the net on 82, and then right at the death, Joe Linton with a nice push and run with Bruno makes it 5, and so we go out 5-1 winners at West Ham, which is a heck of a score in London. We've done well in London this year, which isn't always what happens. Craig Pawson is the referee, David Coote the VAR man, and we're now firmly fixed in a European Cup place, which of course everybody wants. So the next game is Brentford away. We stay in London again, and we need to be on our mettle because we won't get a free ride like we did the last time with Brentford. And sure enough, we don't. It's an unchanged team we take with Brentford fielding Ray, Higgy, Jensen, Pinnock, me, Henry, De Silva, Norgard, Jensen, Tony, and Sade. And good football, but sadly a piece of slack tackling by Dan Byrne, and Tony's brought down, and he gets up to take the penalty and make it 1-0 on right at half time. Hardly time to kick off after that ball goes in. So we go in 1-0 down to Brentford. Second half, we're clearly decided to have a go at this one, and it's great on 54 minutes. There's a beautiful shot from Willock, which hits the woodwork, comes back, and hits the Brentford goalkeeper, and goes back into the goal for an own goal. So rare own goal is the equaliser, and then after that we just take over the match, and 9 chances, some good saves by their goalkeeper, some good blocks by their defenders. But it's Isaac on 61 minutes who shows his skill by rushing through the defence, beating 2 defenders, and making it 2-1. It could have been more, but we ended up 2-1 winners, which is great for another win in London. Chris Kavanagh is the referee, Darren England the VAR man. We're now away to Aston Villa, 3rd away game on the trot, really being pushed, and unchanged side, with Aston Villa having Martinez, Young, Konza, Mings, Morena, Lopera, Dendoncker, Douglas Luiz, McGinn, Burienda, Ramsey, and Watkins. We are unchanged, but we look a bit tired in this one. And first half is Aston Villa. They really take the game to us, and they're in 11 minutes, Ramsey makes it 1-0 for them, and that's no surprise because we're really not in the game thus far. The second half similar, with Villa pulling all the strings, and on 64 minutes, nobody desperately surprised when Watkins makes it 2, and then on 83, Watkins again runs through the defence to make it 3. So Villa beat us 3-0 and dent our league position a little bit, but not catastrophically. We're still we're still in a place where we want to be. We then home to Tottenham, and again, games against Tottenham are usually extremely entertaining, and this is no exception. We've got an unchanged side. Tottenham bring Loris, Persesic, Dyer, Romero, Porro, Holberg, Skip, Sarr, Son, Kane, and Kulievski. This game sets off at 100 miles an hour, absolutely blistering, and Tottenham don't know how to handle us. All over the pitch, we've got speed merchants that are causing Spurs harm. So 2 minutes, Murphy scores. 6 minutes, Joelinton scores. 9 minutes, Murphy scores. 19 minutes, Isak scores. And on 23 minutes, Isak again to make it 5-0. After 21 minutes, breathtaking. I can't remember a more breathtaking game to be at for Newcastle United in all the years I've gone. It was just incredible, one after the other, and there weren't flukes. There were all really good goals, some beautiful goals. The first Isak goal, for example, was Joe Willock's on the left, and with the outside of his right foot, takes the ball over the top of the Spurs defence, right into Isak's path, and Isak with 2 steps, and bang, it's in the back of the net. An absolute picture of a goal. So we come out second half, and clearly Spurs have decided they're not going to give us a cricket score. Pack the midfield, and but no matter, we're still giving them a run around when we want to, except on 49 minutes, we're a bit lax at a corner, and Kane pulls one back to make it 5-1 on 49 minutes. But just to add grist to the mill, on 67 minutes, Wilson races through and he makes it 6. And it really, for Newcastle fans, an entertaining game. For Spurs, they'll be scratching their heads wondering how it happened. Referee, a certain Mr. David Coote, and Neil Swarbrick is the VAR man. So we're now still nicely fixed in a European scoop spot, but it would be nice if we could go to Everton and get a point or better. We have one change in the team, with Matt Targett coming in at left back, and Dan Burn out with onto the bench. So that's our change. Everton: Pickford, Godfrey, Keane, Tarkowski, Molenchenko, Onana, Gehi, Dakor, Iwobi, McNeil, and Calvert-Lewin. And it's quite a good game. The Everton tend to be very strong at the back and in midfield, not going to give anything away. But on 28 minutes, Wilson breaks the defence and from a corner makes it 1-0. It stays like that till half time. Ball flying either side of Pickford's goal, but none going in. And then on 72 minutes, Joelinton breaks the Everton defence to make it 2-0. On 75 minutes, Wilson again makes it 3. And then on 80 minutes, McNeil, dangerous Everton forward, makes it to 3-1. And it looks like that's how the game will peter out, except all of a sudden, Alexander, Wilson pushes the Everton defence, and a shot he has is rebounded off a defender, falls to Murphy's feet, who taps in to make it 4-1. Excellent victory at Tottenham, with Mariner, the referee, and Kavanagh, the VAR man, really establishing ourselves as true European Cup challengers. Next, we're at home to Arsenal, and we don't want to lose to them. Sorry, I missed a game. We're at home to Southampton, and a game which, even by the standards of when we went to Southampton, we should be winning. And again, even for Southampton, a full house, 52,230, and no question. We've an unchanged team, and Southampton posting the same team as they did when we were at the Dell, with Adam Armstrong still in their forward line. It's not the best of games, but Southampton sneak into a 1-0 victory at just before half time, much to the dismay of the home faithful. But immediately after half time, you can see Newcastle aren't going to let it go like that, and they really go for Southampton. Down 54 minutes, Wilson equalises. 79 minutes from a corner, Walcott defending his own goal, takes an unlucky bounce, and it goes in his own goal off his knee to make it 2 for us. And then on 81 minutes, Callum Wilson just outstrips the Southampton defence to make it 3-1. 3-1 win, but not the best football match have been do. But importantly for us, keeps us where we want to be. Next game is a home game against Arsenal, which we want to win, because they're one of the ones that are also pushing to get into European Cup mode. And we have an unchanged side. Arsenal have Ramsdale, White, Kawari, Gabriel, Zinchenko, Odegaard, Jorginho, Xhaka, Saka, Jesus, and Martinelli. Jesus, who they've got from Manchester City. It's entertaining football, but Arsenal have the upper hand. And I don't think anybody's surprised on 14 minutes when Odegaard makes it 1-0 for Arsenal. And that's how it stays till half time. The second half, we make more of a fist of it and look like we might get back into the game. But from a corner, a Xhaka shot inside the area goes off the back of Fabian Schär and into the net past Pope to make it 2-0 to Arsenal. And that's how it stays until the final whistle. Arsenal, well-worthy winners of 2-0, with Chris Kavanagh as a referee and Andy Madeley as VAR. But doesn't dent our European hopes too much. So we have away to Leeds United now, with travelling fans in full voice, of course, at Leeds. Popular trip, and it's Leeds fighting very, very hard, so they're not going to give anything away, even though they look like they may be out of the league. Game starts off like it does with Leeds at 100 miles an hour, and no surprise when Ayling sneaks through and makes it 1-0 to Leeds. Then their fullback Ayling is a bad challenge on Isak from a corner, and it's a penalty, and Wilson scores from the penalty on 31 minutes. Then on 69, a repeat dose that Ayling again pulls somebody down in the Leeds penalty area, in our penalty area, and Wilson steps up to make it 2-1 from the penalty spot. It looks like we're going to get a 2-1 victory, but Leeds never give up, and their big defender Christensen comes up for a corner, and on 79 minutes makes it 2-2. So we end up with a point. Right at the end, the Leeds fullback Fairpo gets all excited with Isak towards the end of the match on the touchline. There's all sorts of pushing and shoving and what have you, and at the end of it, Simon Hoop, as the referee, sends them off on 90 plus 1 minute. So it doesn't impact the game that much really. But a 1-1 draw, which is at Leeds, is not too bad, even though they're well and truly down the bottom of the league. We then have a home game against Brighton, and we want to keep a position in the league. Brighton aren't really threatening it, but it wouldn't help. Apart from anything else, the higher in the league, of course, the more money you get for your position in the league, and that's not to be sniffed at. So we set off again as though we won this game. Great football, some good interplay. 22nd minutes, Undav, the big defender, is caught out by a Wilson shot, and it goes in off his back of his heel into the net again. 1-0 to us. On 45 minutes rather. Big Dan Burn sneaking in on the left, buries a drive from the edge of the box to make it 2-0 for us, which it stays till half time. And then after half time, Brighton just batten down the hatches and just flood their midfield, so we're not going to take them apart. And it stifles the game quite a bit, but we keep plugging away. And then just before the end, Wilson outstrips Dunk, the big centre half, to make it 3. And Undav, the midfielder, makes it 2-1. Wilson on 89 makes it 3. And then the last kick of the game on 90 plus 1, Bruno managed to gets a nice header from across from Willock, and makes it 4. And that's a big score against Brighton, because they tend to have the Indian sign over us, but a 4-1 win, which puts us nicely where we want to be. And Leicester City next at St James's, and they come with Iverson, Castani, Sudar, Evans, Faes, Thomas, Niddy, Tillemans, Sumari, Inacho, and Vardy, but with a much bolstered midfield, and it's clear they're not going to give anything away. And on this particular day, we're not very good at breaking them down either. So first half really is a tedious 0-0. Second half gets a bit more exciting when we obviously decide to have a go and see if we can't get a win out of it. But it peters out into a very poor 0-0, and Andrea Malin, the referee, and it disappointing, because I think everybody was looking for something special for the last game of the season. And here it is, Chelsea away, another London game, which normally we would have doubt about, but we need not to lose this one, because Chelsea are another team that's looking to get European football. We've changed Dubravka's fit again in goal. Trippier, Shaw, Botman, Targets back in. Gordon, Bruno, Anderson, Almiron, Isak, and San Maximum. Chelsea have Asabiquata, Silva, Chabola, Hall, Loftus-Cheek, Fernandes, Gallagher, Madueke, Havertz, and Sterling. A game which is another one that starts off at 100 miles an hour. Anthony Gordon gets a great goal on 9 minutes to put us in the lead, and all seems to be going well. Then, regrettably, from a corner, there's a melee in the goal mouth, and it hits Trippier last, but it's enough to divert it past Dubravka to make it 1-1. Second half is end to end, but without any real threat on the goal, and eventually peters out to a 1-1 draw for our last game of the season. And that cements our place in the European places for this particular season, which everybody's absolutely thrilled about. A 5-year plan, as they called it when they took over. Well, suddenly it's accelerated, and we're where we wanted to be very quickly. Some would say that's too soon, but as I often say, I'm a greedy little duck, and I want all that's good on Newcastle United. So we're in the Champions League, which is absolutely fantastic. A very entertaining season, some good play. And the last comment I'd make is it's surprising if you listen to those teams I've read out. Remember those players that Steve Bruce wouldn't even put in his team, and yet have taken them to a Champions League place. Eddie Howe deserves a pat on the back for that, at least, if nothing else. But
Certainly.
very much for that. So there we go. A good season.
Great stuff. And when we go into the next season, Judge, I think we've made a decision, didn't we? Yeah, when we spoke a couple of days ago, that we're going to do the next season in 2 parts.
Well, yes, because I mean, these ones are nearly running into 2 hours. I don't know how long that was, but
2 hours.
Yeah, oh, right, okay. Well, believe me, I've got a pile of papers here for this one. I'm already looking at a pile of papers, half as much again for the next one, and I haven't even finished it yet. So yes, it makes sense to do up to the end of the European campaign as the first bit, and then the rest of the season for the second bit.
Great stuff, George, as always.
I'll talk to you about it before we decide, Steve. Thanks again, everybody, for watching. No, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Always is. And thank you all for watching. It makes it all worthwhile.
Take care, George. See you on the next one.
Thanks, Steve. Bye for now.
A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. Find them at their website, skipsandbins.com. Contact them, www.skipsandbins.com/contact. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at their website, mrvickies.co.uk. Email info@mrvickies.co.uk. or telephone 01768 210 102. A big thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. 2 crew, driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. All excursions included. Find them at their website, www.unitedgrouptravel.com. Email them at beverly.ugtl@gmail.com. Telephone 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. Just £30 per person deposit. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. A big thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. You can find them at their website, media-arts.co.uk. If you want to listen to us as a podcast, you can go to Sports Social Podcast Network. You can also find us on iTunes, Spotify, and your other podcast providers. If you want to help support the channel, hit the thumb up, which is the like button. Click share to share to your other social medias. Click join to join the channel. And click the subscribe button. We've also got links in our description for buy us a coffee and to be a Patreon member. Some events coming up. An afternoon with Sir Les Ferdinand, 6th of April, 12 till 4. Tickets available from ticketmaster.co.uk. No Covers takes place at the Cluny, Lilac Lane, Ryder and the Chris Norris Band. Tickets from theclooney.com or by telephone 0191 230 4474. An evening with Steve Howie and Steve Watson, hosted by Joe Allen, takes place at the Tyneside Irish Centre on the 27th of June. Tickets for that are from newcastlelegends.com. An evening with Peter Beardsley and Chris Waddle takes place at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House on the 23rd of January 2026. Box office 0844 246 1000 or website tynetheatreandoperahouse.tv. An evening with Bad Manners takes place on Friday the 30th of January 2026 and tickets available from ticketmaster.co.uk. And we have copies of The Entertainers 1992 to 1997 Kevin Keegan's Legacy available from newcastlelegends.com.